Hey friends, day 30 today. Feels like 100 years and 3 days, both at the same time. I have a lot of cool stuff to tell you guys, a lot of really neat stuff to share with you. This is Fighting is about fighting for. And a quick disclaimer, you will not offend me if you peace out right now, because I do need to tell you, I know I really appreciate the people who come here for Rammers and mine and Mullins and mine fight analysis and discussion of the fights. And there was some crazy stuff back there at 210, crazy stuff coming up this weekend. There's nothing but amazing fights. But this fighting is about the journey. It's a document of the journey of where we're going. So if that's not your thing, you're not offending me at all. I just wanted to, time's really valuable, which is why it's so appreciated that people you're spending time with me. Like, I can't even believe that when I think about it. It means a lot to me when I think of that. And, all of this part of the journey, the reason I wanted to document it, partly because I want to look back at history and show my family one day what we were doing, Mark and myself and Aaron and Morgan and Marc-Andre, and I think there'll be others. I've got a friend, Benjamin, that's been putting stuff on Medium, taking some of our words and changing them and putting them in written form. So I want to document it, but I'm also was hoping to bring you some value. We're always hoping we can bring you some kind of value, and that this journey, we're learning stuff. I thought we might be talking a lot about digital uploads and websites and stuff, but much like we find there's always these life lessons in there that make your life a little smoother or challenging, and you have to overcome them, which will ultimately make your life a little smoother. But I've learned a lot. And I'm learning a lot. Realizing that how incredibly generous or kind or cool or something it is for you to choose to spend time with me, because I think about how choosy I am about what I'm watching, But I got a lot to tell you. A lot of interesting, fun, cool stuff happening. First off, watch out for my new series on Monster Zym, okay? It's monsterzym.com, Z-Y-M, one word. And it's called On the Move, and we started a series. So I believe I've told you, but to recap quickly, a guy named Mr. Kim who runs Monster Zym. They're a very big fitness and health and fighting and sports website in Korea. And he told me that I had Doo-Ho Choi first told me that I had a lot of fans in Korea. Thank you to my fans in Korea. Thank you so much for being so kind to me. But so Mr. Kim approached me after I was available and said, let's do something. So we went down to Albuquerque and we shot some stuff. And it's coming out pretty much any minute. If you can't find it right now, it'll be up within days. And that's very exciting. But more than that, the time that I've spent with Mr. Kim, there's also a gentleman, Mr. Lee, who is doing the translations. Here's one thing I can tell you. All of our content, everything we make, every word about fighting and everything else is all going to be translated into Korean and Chinese. So you just press a button and do that. So if you got friends that are Korea or China or speak those languages, share with them. It's so cool. I'm super pumped. But what that made me think in my conversations with Mr. Kim, he's talked to me about why people in Korea might be interested in what we're talking about. And he said that, it was fascinating to me. He said that the types of philosophies through which I look at the world and the types of philosophies we speak about and the way that we are looking for growth and the way that we search the martial arts for lessons and for things that can make our lives better. He said that philosophy is much more in line with many countries in Asia, which just boggled my mind there for a second to think that, because you just think the way you think. Everybody does. But that there are different cultures who are very much more my way of thinking. And so are you. That's why you're hanging out here. You think a little differently than a lot of other people. And once I understood that, it really moved me. But I also realized that my real goal is to positively influence the martial arts. The way it's consumed, the way it's discussed, the way it's shared and dissected. That's my real goal. I realize that now. And the idea that I can share and play a role in how people are consuming the martial arts in other countries and understand that the way we do things here is kind of the way we've always done them. and then we get a little stagnant. And the way we talk about, the way a lot of people view fighting is just about the controversy or the drama or, the gossip or the story or, what did the ref do? Oh my God, that was unfair. Did you see what Henry Hooft did? And all of that kind of stuff. And that's not everywhere. The whole world doesn't think that way. And to realize, and I'm starting to realize it this week, and this is only the first story I'm telling you that cuts into this. I realized that the way that fighting can be shared, it can be better. I know that, you know that, we know that, we just do. But ruts get formed, grooves get formed. When a rope wears through wood, it makes a groove and it stays there. And that's what's been happening with the way people talk about fighting. I've gone from disdain for the way that fighting is shared to much more understanding and acceptance, but with a desire to change it. And when in countries like China and Korea, there isn't this rope groove, there isn't this burnt groove where it has to be this way. We can do it this way. We can talk about the art and the elegance and the beauty, the lessons of the martial arts. We can talk about skill and talent and all feel and all of these things flow. And we're gonna. And it's amazing. I want to thank the Monster Zim, and I hope that people check it out because my stuff's in English. It'll be subtitled, which is super cool. Korean characters look so badass. But it'll be subtitled, but it'll still be in English. So please check it out. Once it's up, once the first episode is up, Mark will link it in the description. But I want to thank Mr. Kim. He's not only given me really cool work that I can do to share my love of the martial arts with people, but he's also had interesting conversations with me that make me understand that people's philosophy of the way they go about life varies by region too, and because we all influence each other. And the hope is that over time, with the web and with the global sharing, that we can influence each other a lot. And so why would people in Toronto be a little different than people in Chicago? It's not genetics, it's not race, it's not color. In Toronto, there's every kind of person. It's because we influence each other. But with this global way that we can share stuff like this, we'll be able to, everybody can influence each other. And we're going to try to influence each other better. There's something in the way that technology is moving where the audience is self-correcting things. If we don't all agree with something, we're slowly self-correcting it. So it is fascinating. But I really do want to thank Mr. Kim and my friend Mr. Lee. I look forward to meeting you, sir. And all the fans in Korea. It's so amazing to have a new group of people to share ideas with. It's been spectacular. And also, but when you're watching this, I could be in Russia right now. At the time, I'm telling you this, they have approached me, and this we'll document it, we'll see where this goes. They have approached me about doing 10, 12, 15 shows a year, commentating the shows, as well as creating analysis for them for ACB in Russia. And it's the same thing. Russian MMA is exploding, and the Russian audience is exploding. Massive. And this is a big show. And I'm honored that they're so motivated to bring me in. And I mean, they seem very motivated, very excited that when I share some stuff about ACB, I get a lot of really great feedback from great fans. And I've been to Russia, and I loved it. So if I'm there right now, trust that I'm having a great time and I'm loving it and I'm learning a lot. But the idea that I will travel to Russia and Prague, I think they're doing shows, and Turkey and Hawaii, I've heard, England, the idea that I'm traveling around all those places once a month to share my love of fighting and describe the beautiful art that's made by these great artists is really amazing. We have a deal. We have to make a deal. And so over the next few episodes, I'll tell you where that goes. But they seem really into me and doing it, and I'm going over to Russia right tomorrow at the time of this taping. So we will see where that goes. I'm very excited. There's so much spirit. There's something that reminds me of Pride, like the early Pride days, that it had more meaning to the audience. The audience saw more meaning in that fighting, and the Russian audience does as well. So I'm very excited to get to Moscow, and then maybe in May, if all goes well, St. Petersburg as well. But the same thing, to be able to shape, and because my perspective on fighting is my own, and I know it's a little different, and I know it's not for everybody. when you already have a pre-established way that you consume it. I get people will message me on Twitter. They'll say, why don't you just talk about fighting the normal way? Because I don't see it that way. It isn't the normal way. Talking about Twitter beefs and using the same terminology for 20 years and all of these things and everything being about hype and excitement, it isn't the only way. That's not the normal way. It's just the way that is now. Fighting is a beautiful art. It's an incredible art form. It's the most what is the word I'm looking for? Taxing on the mind and the body, and the level of intellect that's required to do battle, and the heart and the spirit and the beauty of the game. I mean, that's how I see it, because that's really there. That's what it is. So if it's presented particularly in North America, the same way as it was in late 90s, early 2000s, which was done as people who got into it came, a lot of them, from being pro wrestling people, and so they kind of presented it that way. It isn't that way. That's not what we're looking at. And what we're looking at, we're not doing a good job of describing. So I'm so, blown away at the idea that there isn't not only not a predetermined way that fighting is presented in Russia and Korea, India, all these places, but that they don't like the way that the North Americans present it. And the audiences seem interested in more philosophical and art and beauty and technical and true and mental aspects of fighting. Isn't that crazy? So, and I did a podcast the other day with some guys, I think it was MMA India or India MMA. These guys knew a lot. And they didn't talk about what's next for this guy, who's ahead of him in the rankings, when's the next title shot, or who hates who on Twitter. All the same crap that North American MMA people have been doing for decades, or what all the other fighters said on Twitter about that fight, or all the same nonsense. I'm sorry, I'm trying to not be critical, but I'm being hypercritical, so I apologize. But they don't like that. They're not interested. They're not interested in Russia, India, Korea, China. They're not. And that is tremendously exciting. So I had no idea that we were going to be making content and analyzing fighting and talking about fighting for Asia, Russia, places like that. But I'm so excited that we are. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know where we're going in the coming months. I don't know, but it's a pretty exciting time. Oh, I got something else I can tell you. I am currently working over at TSN, which is the sports network here in Canada. We're trying to develop a little documentary on Georges St-Pierre, the most famous Canadian fighter. And so I'll tell you how that goes too. Been working on that with some people up there. And George is into it, TSN's into it, and I'm into it. So we're probably going to do it. And a lot of things can happen in the meantime. So much going on. And how about this? It's day 30 today, like I said. So you can change your YouTube name on after 30 days. So now mine is just YouTube /something, C, I believe, /Robin Black. So 30 days in, we've made 40 plus videos, many of which you're going to see over the next week, 10 days. We have a new series in Korea. I'm flying to Russia to negotiate, possibly commentating many, many shows all around Europe. I had Dominic Cruz gave him a ride to the airport. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It was a real treat to hang out with Dom. He's a cool dude. Buffalo was amazing. We went down to Buffalo, hung out a fair bit with John Anik. I drank a bunch of beers. And John, if you see this, thank you, man. John's been giving me real good advice and insight, and he's such a generous dude. And you ask around, man, go ask around. You don't know people that know John necessarily, but ask around on Twitter. He's the nicest cat going. Hardworking, driven, smart, kind. You look up to people like that. When you meet people like that, learn from them. And I've been learning a lot from John Anik, and he's been very kind to me. It's been unreal. Other than missing my wife, who is away on tour right now, I got to see her in Dallas before I went to Albuquerque, and I'll see her again after Russia. We're going to go to Mexico. Other than being away from her, I think this has been the most exciting 30 days of my life. Made new friends. I didn't even know Mark 30 days ago. and made new friends, got off my ass. When I look back at that, I'm going to go back and watch that first video. I haven't watched it. Fighting is About Fighting 1. But I remember saying I didn't know what we were doing or where we were going or what was going on, but I just needed to start. And I remember saying I wanted to practice what I preach, and I am. And if you're watching this, I am not special. There's nothing different about me than there is about you. I just learned a lot of stuff, and I did stuff. I started. So just, if there's something you want to do, just start. If you already started, congratulations. It's awesome. You know, it's awesome. So I'm going to go back and watch that, and I won't watch it again for a year. But so many other things. I don't even know where to start. There's talk of a studio. There's been a few people. The amount of people that have offered stuff to us, graphics and pictures and studio space and all kinds of things. You know, Monster Zim has been kind. My friend Dr. Faisal, my buddy Rick Smiklis. Rick, I know if you're watching this, you won't be watching all the way through here, but I learned a lot from you too. But 30 days, man, you can do a lot in 30 days. You can. You know, you really can. It's been great. It really has. So I think I'm going to sit with Mark and we're going to have a beer and we're going to celebrate what we've done, but we're also, you pat yourself on the back for a minute and then you go forward. You go forth. And yeah, 30 days. Thanks for sharing my stuff. Thanks for sharing the YouTube page, and thanks for sharing that Dom video. We have 125,000 views as of this point on 35 videos and 8,500 subscribers in a month. And if you're one of them, thank you. You didn't have to do that. You chose to do that. And you could choose a million things, and I value the fact that you chose this. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to us. We have a cool team coming together here. I'm sure there's some stuff I forgot, and I've said this the last 4 times. It's not always going to be great news. So be happy for us, and we're happy for ourselves, but we know that there's going to be tough times ahead, and because that's life, and we're ready for it. And thank you again. It's been the best 30 days of my life, except for missing my wife. Miss you, sweetie. But I'm going to see her in Mexico, and Mark is going to trickle out stuff because we got another 7 or 8 or 9 things that we've shot, 5 or 6 analysis videos with Ramdeen, and a bunch of other stuff. A really cool interview with a psychologist, Dr. Joel Lapata, who does his specialized research into performance and creativity, and it's going to be really neat. I got another thing with David too coming out. And
those will probably be out before this.
Those are probably out. Mark's telling me those are out.
If you haven't watched it, then check it out.
If you haven't watched it, then check it out. Good point. And if you have, then tell me what you think. And thanks for humoring me. That's why I told people at the beginning, if this ain't for you, that's okay. Just watch the analysis videos, and I value you for that. But if you're interested in this journey, I want to document it because look how much has happened in 30 days. Wow. Imagine in 30 weeks. Pretty cool. Thank you. I said thank you like 100 times, but it's because I mean it. Blackout.